Following his arrival for the tripartite conference, President Truman reviews the veteran 2nd Armored Division. Accompanied by Secretary of State Byrnes, Mr. Truman rides down the Avus Autobahn to Berlin, where men, tanks, and vehicles are lined up for the presidential inspection. On 18th July, the President and Mr. Byrnes are guests of Premier Stalin and Russian Foreign Commissar Molotov at Soviet headquarters. Premier Stalin acknowledges a request for photographs below the balcony, and the group proceeds to the garden of the villa. The formal sessions of the conference get underway with President Truman chosen to preside over the meetings. Premier Stalin exchanges handshakes with Prime Minister Churchill and British Foreign Secretary Anthony Eden. Both Churchill and Eden are to be replaced as Britain's chief spokesman at the conference. Clement Attlee, now shaking hands with the Russian Premier, becomes England's Prime Minister by virtue of his Labour Party's victory in the 26th July British elections. Ernest Bevin succeeds Anthony Eden as Foreign Secretary. After daily sessions for 8 days, the conference recessed until the election results became known. Between sessions, President Truman talks with Generals Dwight D. Eisenhower and Omar N. Bradley. Fleet Admiral William D. Leahy is also present at the President's Potsdam White House. A meeting of the British and American Chiefs of Staff. On 26th July, a joint declaration from President Truman and retiring Prime Minister Churchill, issued with the concurrence of the Chinese Generalissimo, calls on the Japanese government to surrender unconditionally. This order is prefaced as follows. The prodigious land, sea, and air forces of the United States, the British Empire, and of China, many times reinforced by their armies and air fleets from the West, are poised to strike the final blows upon Japan. Navy films of an underwater demolition team in action prior to the invasion of Balikpapan, Borneo. The team prepares explosive charges before going in to destroy enemy shore obstacles at the Balikpapan beach. At a given signal, the swimmers drop one at a time into a rubber boat lashed alongside the fast-moving LCPR. Each swimmer's pack of explosives, made buoyant by being encased in a bladder, is thrown over the opposite side of the PR at the same instant he leaves the rubber boat. Swimmers wear webbed fins on their feet. As soon as they hit the water, they take their pack in tow and head for the beach. The demolition team works 20 to 50 yards seaward of the high water mark. The swimmers attach their explosive charges to the shore obstacles, as automatic weapon fire from guns on offshore LCL-SLs cover the operation. After the charge is set, the swimmers head toward the pickup area where they're taken aboard the rubber boat. As the craft approaches the swimmer, the man in the water holds up one hand and the catcher swings him aboard. As the catcher reaches for his man, the coxswain slows the boat momentarily. The instant contact is made, the boat surges forward again. 3 men are wounded in the operation as swimmers are caught between enemy snipers and our supporting fire. The explosives are timed to go simultaneously. Mission accomplished, the men are given cigarettes, brandy, and necessary first aid. The seriously injured are hurried to a hospital ship. Additional films on the invasion of Balikpapan, Borneo by troops of the Australian 7th Division. At Morotai Island, staging area for the invasion, a vast supply of materiel is loaded on the transports while troops assemble to embark on LCIs. The operation is under the joint command of Australian and American officers. Due to the shallow beaches at Morotai, the Australians are forced to wade through water above the waist to board the LCIs. Over 300 ships of the U.S. 7th Fleet and the Royal Netherlands Navy participate in the invasion of the oil-rich Balikpapan. Rocket ships help reduce shore installations and defenses, taking part in the intense aerial and naval bombardment which preceded the invasion. Clouds of black smoke from burning oil tanks and refineries hang over the beach as Jap 5-inch coastal guns fire at our fleet units offshore. Amtraks and landing craft bring the Australians ashore. 7th Division troops land in force 1st July, hitting the beach at Clandasan, the European suburb of Balikpapan. After quickly establishing a beachhead, Australian infantry supported by alligator tanks push inland past the blazing ruins of buildings and oil installations. Enemy small arms and mortar fire is encountered by the Australians, who quickly capture strategic Parramatta Ridge overlooking the city. Infantry flamethrowers destroy Japs taking refuge in pillboxes. The few natives remaining in the district are rounded up by the Australians. Many are starved and malaria-ridden. Knocked out enemy coastal guns. Prior to the invasion landing, 17 of 28 known 90mm gun positions were destroyed by planes of the 13th Air Force. Captured Japanese anti-aircraft direction and fire control equipment similar to that employed by the Allies. M26 prime movers transport the tube and base for the 914mm mortar Little David. A 12-foot pit is dug with timber flooring to facilitate emplacement of the base assembly and to distribute the firing loads. A 12-degree slope serves as an entrance ramp. The 46.5-ton base is backed into the pit. Built-in hydraulic jacks lift it so that the bogie can be removed by a crane and the prime mover driven out again. Backfilling by bulldozer, angle dozer, or other earth-moving machinery is the next step. To minimize the rearward motion when firing, it's recommended that the backfill be tamped solidly. A timber runway is constructed, enabling the 40-ton tube to be driven directly onto the base. The trunnion supports align with the trunnion jacks by use of a built-in cross-feed screw. A hydraulic pump and valve system within the base raises the jacks which lift the trunnion supports, permitting the carrier to be driven away. The jacks are then lowered and the tube drops until the elevating rack is engaged with the elevating pinion. The sight is attached and the remote control connection made. A hydraulic pump driven by an electric motor mounted on the elevating segment is used to pump the tube into battery position. The base unit of the propelling charge is inserted using a powder charger equipped with a pair of telescoping tubes. The largest caliber mortar ever built, the Little David was conceived and designed as a special assault weapon for use by land forces where heavy destructive power is required against unusually resistant targets. Loading the pre-engraved projectile T1, which weighs 3,650 pounds. Elevation of the mortar after the shell has been aligned and entered to the deep end of the rotating band enables it to slide down to a seat at the rear of the tube. The piece is traversed by power to the correct azimuth position. The bright surface indicates the tube's recoil, 24.5 inches. This surface changes from the lower to the upper edge of the trunnion ring as the piece is pumped into battery position. shown by a light in the remote control box. Holding the piece in battery with one hand, the gunner pushes the firing button. All firing in this demonstration is with instantaneous fuse setting. Muzzle velocity 1,250 feet per second. Maximum range 9,500 yards. Craters average 38 feet in diameter and 13 feet deep, with an appreciably greater depth of distributed soil. Further information on the Little David is available in Technical Film Bulletin 9-33.